With God of War Ragnarok out now, Kratos' time in the Norse mythology is over. He has now officially wiped out two of the most famous mythologies to exist, but he was a fictional character who didn't actually exist in any of them. Therefore, the stories that we play through in the games were tweaked to make him fit in their worlds. So they're not at all completely accurate to the real stuff. This has led us to compare the accuracy of the two mythologies to the real ones, and find out which one was the truest to their adaptations. We'll start off with Greece, the birthplace of the demigod. Kratos is supposedly Kratos, who wasn't a bastard of Zeus like Kratos. The reason Kratos becomes the way he is was due to the ex-god of war of Greece, i.e. Ares. Ares was the massive, violent dude bro of Olympus in Greek mythology. He was the Greek god of war and uncontrolled bloodshed. This regularly caused him to clash with other gods, but in general, he was simply looking to have some good, violent fun. So they got his parts right. Next up, we have Orcos, Ares' son, according to Santa Monica. Because in Greek mythology, he is the son of strife goddess Eris. He is an associate of the Furies and the embodiment of vows, and more specifically the punishment that befalls those who breach them. He is sometimes represented as physically feeble or handicapped, but in God of War, he's the sickly skinny son of the Fury Tisiphone and Ares, who's coated with massive amber lumps into which sinners are inserted. That's a little weird. His frail appearance is consistent with mythology, but he appears to have changed his mind regarding Kratos' oath-breaking, which contradicts his position as the personification of punishment for oathbreakers. Then there are the satyrs. They are mischievous, nude elf-like creatures with horsetails, goat ears, and occasionally gigantic goat dongs in Greek mythology. The Roman versions resemble the ones we're more familiar with, which have goat legs and little horns. Both types were known for sexual aggressiveness, but they do not appear to have been viewed as bad guys in general. But in God of War, they're both completely bad guys and far uglier. Satyrs are one of the most frequent enemy kinds in the series, and their goat faces and preference for weapons and brutality over excessive exhibitionism make them tough to confuse with their legendary counterparts. Also, none of them ever sit about blowing into panpipes and making overtures at nymphs. Then there was Pandora, a key figure throughout the series. In Greek mythology, she is Hephaestus' answer to Eve, created from clay. Pandora appears to have been created to punish mankind for receiving stolen fire from Olympus. In some versions of the narrative, this punishment includes Pandora being evil and deceitful, and just way too lovely to take off that chitin already, because ancient Greece had issues, bro. In the eyes of others, she was a helpless victim. In either story, the gods delivered her a box full of evil, which she opened, dooming humanity to eternal suffering. But in God of War, she's a type of ageless automation that Hephaestus loves like a daughter, and has a striking likeness to Kratos' deceased daughter Calliope. Then there was Gaia. In Greek mythology, she's the literal embodiment of the earth, generally represented as a human-looking mother. She gave birth to the Titans and pretty much everything else, and coupling with Uranus, the personification of the sky and other primordials. But in God of War, she busted down to the level of a Titan herself, but at least she narrates things. God of War Gaia is a giant chunky humanoid formed of trees and rocks and things. But given that the mythological version was actually the world itself, she's a little disappointing. Especially because she's just as selfish and deceitful as everyone else Kratos encounters. Finally, there was Zeus, the father of the gods and most mythological Greek heroes, ruler of Olympus and wielder of lightning, who has a habit of repeatedly seducing mortal and semi-mortal women in the guise of handsome men and assorted animals. God of War got his character right. He was a douche. That loosely sums up Greek mythology. After killing Zeus, Kratos kills himself, doesn't die, and ends up in the Norse realms. Let's see how accurate those are. Odin was the main god of Scandinavian lands in Norse mythology. He was a god of poets as well as a god of combat, and he was famed for his compassion. He welcomed fallen warriors into Valhalla, proclaiming himself the defender of heroes. Odin was regarded as the All-Father as he was the father of the gods. Particularly, he was the father of Tyr, Thor, Balder, Heimdall, and many more. Odin appears to have a distinct vibe in God of War Ragnarok. This Odin appears to have many physical characteristics with a mythical figure, As a Norse myth specialist who examined Ragnarok's, Odin claimed he resembled the All-Father's wanderer appearance and a lost eye. However, the version of Odin is much less benevolent and more sinister and fond of torture. Fimbulwinter is the vast predicted winter that would consume the planet for 3 years, signaling the approaching Ragnarok. During the terrible winter season, snow will be flying in all directions, everything will be covered in heavy frost, and transport will be difficult. Natural calamities will be almost continuous, and humanity will be at war, brother against brother. Near the end of 2018's God of War, Mimir explained to Kratos that Fimbulwinter should have been 100 years in the future, if Kratos had not done anything to disrupt their reality. In true Norse mythology, Loki's origins are a bit mysterious. However, God of War's Loki is unlike any other historical figure. As previously stated, Kratos was not a true mythological character, but he is the father of Atreus, who is revealed to be Loki in the 2018 God of War. Kratos as an imagined figure was obviously not Loki's father in myth. Loki was considered to be the son of Jotun, named Farbani in Norse mythology. The name of Atreus, Loki's mother, Laufey, is the same between both the video game and mythology. Nonetheless, as she enters the digital realm, her persona endured certain changes. Laufey of God of War appears to have been given the Jotun style of Loki's mythical father rather than the goddess background that she should have had. While this was most likely done so that Kratos could pass on his divine essence to Atreus, it is quite a switch for Laufey. Atreus is interested in learning about Loki's prophecy after seeing his own name in a cave mural of Kratos and Loki. As a result, the baby god of war, Loki, strives to learn who he is and what he may become. Meanwhile, the Norse mythological Loki was always certain of his identity. While little is known about his childhood, it is thought that he was aware of his heavenly talents as a child and relished utilizing them to play tricks on others. The mermaid Kratos encounters in God of War Ragnarok is really a Ran from Norse mythology. However, while Ran is a goddess who personifies the water in Norse mythology, she is not depicted in myth as anything resembling a mermaid. But if we were to choose the more accurate one, it would definitely be Greek mythology. This is maybe because there are more than 6 games in that pantheon compared to 2 in Norse. Until next time.